How to shoot a bow for beginners to be better than 90% of people in less than a month, and yes, it's doable. And that's because 90% of what you need to do generally isn't taught, and only the 10% is. That will get you the last 10% of the way there, but you're working on the last 10% before the 90 foundation is there. This is real, and this is how I've gotten better. If you're new, my name's Kramer Ammons. I own an archery manufacturing company. We build archery, traditional archery equipment, and sell it online. I'm gonna show you the most common mistakes, what you need to avoid, and how you can fix it quick to be much better than others. And the goal is to be as good as you can, not necessarily better than others, but it is kind of cool to walk up to an archery range and outshoot the compound archers. I mean, come on, that's fun. Foundationally, if I had a 100% consistent bow and I put it on a 100% consistent robot with a 100% consistent arrow with 100% consistent conditions, I would hit the exact same spot every single time. So if you think of things as making them consistent as possible, then from that foundation, we can get really good. And the reason people aren't good is because their equipment's not consistent or they're not consistent. And those are our two variables. So first, equipment. Use a bow that is at least half your max draw weight. If you can pull a 70-pound bow, shoot a 35-pound bow. I like to go really low. Right now I'm shooting a 30-pound bow. I can draw back an 85-pound bow if I'm maxing out. That's gonna make you more consistent. Use the exact same bowstring every single session. Also, you need to check your brace height before you shoot your bow every single time. The reason being is if your brace height changes, your knocking point's gonna change up and down as well. When your knocking point changes up and down, it changes how your arrows are tuned, which means you're gonna miss in different locations. If you didn't check your brace height before you shot today and you were off, what if you shot great shots, but it was your knocking point and you missed because your arrows weren't flying well? You wanna know your brace height number as precisely as possible. And some people measure to the throat, some people measure to the back. Just be consistent. I know for mine to the back, 8 5/16 of an inch is perfect for my bow. Then to remember your brace height, you can write directly on your square 8 5/16, or what you can do is put a piece of tape on your square, write it on there, or you can put a piece of tape on your bow or on your quiver or something so that you can have a good reference to slap this on and make sure your brace height's right. Only shoot the exact same arrows. You wouldn't believe how often I see different grain arrows, how often I see different weighted points, and people have them all in the same bag. That's gonna be terrible for consistency. Shoot the same arrows. Are your arrows tuned to your best shot? Now, a 1/4 inch in draw can change poundage by a pound. And that 1 pound difference with your release will change how your arrows fly. But are they tuned for your best shot? So when you have your best release, it flies straight. If you have a bad release, maybe it doesn't fly straight. If your arrows are tuned for your best shot, then you know when you're having good releases. If you just fix those things, for 50% of people, they'd get so much better. That would be incredible. Now your equipment is consistent, at least consistent enough to get great results. Now let's move on to you. You don't need great form to be good at archery. You need consistent form to be good at archery. And if your goal is to be pretty good quickly, shoot what's comfortable and do the same thing as best you can every time. Commit to an aiming method. So many people switch between aiming methods. I'm instinctive, I'm gonna shoot gap, split vision, string walking. Pick a method and stick to it. And here's the method that I would recommend you doing if you wanna get as good as possible, as quick as possible. First, I like to string walk slightly and shoot gap. So I do a mix between the both. I'm gonna go down about half a finger, and that's just gonna be my baseline. That's gonna move my point on distance closer to the target. Secondly, I used to anchor right here, but now I anchor up closer to my eye. That way I'm looking right down the arrow and I don't have to shoot as big of a gap. Next, if your arrow tuning allows you to, get longer arrows. That's gonna make your point on a shorter distance. If your point on is at your most common distance you shoot, that's optimal. Use lighter arrows when you practice. If you're hunting, you probably want a heavier arrow, but use lighter arrows if you can to practice and get good and build that confidence. You'll have a flatter trajectory and more likely be more consistent. Next, on your target, draw a really small circle, and then you aim at something small, you're gonna miss smaller. Now I'm gonna give you 2 shots from this 12-yard distance here, unedited, to show you kind of what is possible with just a little bit of practice. I'm not that great of an archer, but I followed these simple little tips to get consistent, and it helps out a lot. So I'm gonna focus in here and see what I can do from 12 yards. Aiming for the very center, that little gray Sharpie mark. All right, it looks like I'm about an inch bottom left, number 2. So if you're not shooting a 2 or 3 inch circle every single time from 12 to 15 yards, then my guess is you have to do a really large gap and you haven't committed to an aiming method and your equipment is not consistent. To hammer this home, I want you to critique my form. So tell me whether you think the first shot or the second shot is better form. Which one did I have better form? Neither. The one that's better form is the one that I can be more consistent with. Recognize this, that every single archery instructor is telling you to move in a way that our bodies move the most consistent. But that's the goal, is consistency. If you're more consistent doing this when you shoot or doing something really weird, do that. And it's so much more fun to be good. Your form might be bad, but if your form's consistently bad like mine, you can do all right. And yes, I'm shooting at 12 yards, and no, I'm not saying I'm better than you at archery. You are probably much better than me. But for the beginners, for the 10 years ago Kramer, I wish I knew these things. Fix those things, try it out, see if it helps you improve. If it doesn't help you improve, go watch Jake Clemency and Tom Klum, because they know a lot more than me.